Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another wonderful tasting with the Virtual Tasting Society. Today, we're excited to welcome a distillery that I've known for years, but we have not had the pleasure of tasting just yet. Today, we are excited to taste the Oban Distillery from the town of Oban. Talking to us about this single malt Scotch whiskey is Brett Wyman. He is the your luxury specialist for Diageo, something like that.
Yeah, I kind of just cover single malts for Diageo in general.
Okay.
We're focusing on Lagavulin and Oban right now,
Okay.
and that's kind of the way it's going.
Awesome. So we're excited to taste some Diageo single malt brands with you. So thank you very much. This is the first of two we have on the calendar. So today we are tasting Oban. It's a more of a maritime, very lightly smoky, but I'll let you talk about it. Yeah, all that said, I did the introductions. It's over to you, Brett. Introduce yourself. Tell us what we're into today.
Yeah, cool. Hi, everybody. I'm Brett, single malt ambassador for Diageo. Uh, yeah, Oban, super cool, super old distillery. So 1794, one of the oldest in Scotland. But even before that, so we found when we were trying to expand Oban, which is a story for a little bit later. Uh, we discovered fossils and human remains from the Mesolithic era, about 5000 BC. So we had some Stone Age homies hanging out in this area, some of the original Scotties that gave Scotland its name. So we're talking about rich history in this really tiny town that supposedly, if you travel out on like a kayak or something, you only have to go about 100 yards out into the sea to fit the entire town in the snapshot of your camera. Um, so yeah, really just wild place. Kind of has become a vacation town in Scotland nowadays, or like kind of like I guess like the I don't know, Cape Cod or Long Island of Scotland. It doesn't quite get as warm, but really picturesque, beautiful town. West Highlands, so we're like just north of that kind of lowland cutoff, and we're right on the coast there. So Oban is actually a Gaelic term for Little Bay, which is named after the first variant we're going to taste today. Yeah. Um, and it is quite literally, yeah, a little bay, like I've been saying. So the distillery itself was the first building to actually be built in the town, and then the town has kind of expanded into a town around it. So that's also kind of the irony, right? Is we were the first building built there, and then we allowed buildings to be built immediately to our left, immediately to our right, ocean in front of us, cliffside behind us that I guess we thought we could have dug into. But then we found all those fossils. So we literally cannot expand Oban. 7 people work there. We pump out about 800,000 liters a year. So for a globally recognized Scotch brand, this is you can't get any smaller, I feel like, for a distillery like Oban. Again, like very like communal. It was started by family, the Stevenson family. So 3 generations of family started this. It started as a brewery, Cowbell Ale. If you guys ever heard Cowbell Ale? But about a year into Cowbell Ale, they switched right into whiskey making, and they have just kind of wanted to be the a luxury process for whiskey making, but very communal, very approachable, very like come as you are. For the longest time, you could go into this distillery for free and just waltz in and pick one of the 7 who were in the house and say, hey, like, what do you got? And they'd be like, yeah, come on over, and it would just be totally free to just walk around and taste whiskeys there. So uh, just a cool foundation, right? Um, what else about the town? It's like a pretty solid amount, I feel like. That's a good picture of the town. From process, right? So fermentation is where the whiskey really changes drastically. So even if you take a whiff of this Little Bay, I mean, it's so fruity, right? Being on the coast there, you're going to get that maritime influence naturally from that proximity. Um, but actually, let me go back before fermentation because we also Oban's a nice blend between a Highland style Scotch and then an Island style Scotch. So We actually were mostly unpeated malted barley here, but there's a tiny ratio of heavily peated barley that gives you this really, really tiny hint of smoke that comes with Oban, right? We call it the gateway scotch. It's really easy drinking. It's really light. It's really fruity. And it's also the gateway to the Isles. So I didn't even know that. I used to call Oban 14 the gateway scotch for the bourbon converter for bourbon drinkers for the longest time. We just never really got into scotch, but I just got lucky. Um, but yeah, so we do a blend of a little bit of heavy peat, mostly unpeated in the fermentation, right? So again, like you take the whiff of this Little Bay, it's super, super fruity. The fermentation is how we're getting originally like so much fruit. We ferment for 5 days or between 110 and 120 hours, right? So if you're familiar with the way fermentation can affect the flavors of whiskey, and this is also, it's not exclusive to Diageo. I mean, any whiskey company probably thinks about this, but it's very important for Diageo whiskeys that we understand that we create flavor through the distilling process and then we specify flavor through the maturation process, right? So your barley makeup is a thing, but fermentation is like one of the major ways you can start influencing flavor, right? So between 45.
We can't hear you.
Now you unmute on us. We lost you there.
Am I back? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right, great. Awesome. So I was talking about fermentation and how fermentation is like a big specifier on flavor, right? 45 to 55 hours, you're going to get kind of like a nutty component. 55 to 65 hours, it starts moving into like a fruitier flavor profile. 65 to 75-ish hours, you get like really grassy, kind of green apple, really bright notes. Think like Singleton. Or Clynelish, right? And then 75 and above, Clynelish even more for like 75 and above, you start getting tropical notes, right? And Oban is living in the 110 to 120 hour range. So yes, we also still use the worm tub. I should open up this chat so I can see these in real time. But yes, so all right, so I'll get to the worm tub in a second. So fermentation, lots of fruit, lots of like orange, citrus, right? And then we're gonna pop these into these two really small onion-shaped stills, really, really small stills. And we do a typical double distillation with those, right? But the unique part about Oban is we rest stills in between our runs, which it allows us to we literally open up the hatches between runs, so we could technically make more Oban, but it would just taste shittier, so we don't want to do that. So what we do is we open up the vats and rest the stills so that the copper can rejuvenate and do the work it needs to do to purify the spirit the way we're hoping that we can get that done, right? And then the unique thing about the worm tub with Oban is they live on the roof because we get no space. So we have these little like rectangular shaped worm tubs that live on the roof of Oban and are doing most of that work to convert us back to liquid. Does anyone have any questions so far on process or like history of Oban? Yay, let's drink.
What's the order we're going to be drinking in tonight? I just want to toss it into.
We're going to start with Little Bay, right? So
Uh-huh.
Little Bay, sorry, God, that stinks. The whole like blurred
A
back.
very powerful blur engine on your end.
I know, right? God, Zoom, what's going on? I don't want you to see my dirty laundry behind me. No. So yeah, all right, Little Bay. So gets its name from the term Little
I just
Bay.
want to put the
Oban.
order in the chat besides Little Bay.
Oh, sure. Little Bay, 14, 18, Distillers Edition, Night's Watch, special release.
Perfect. Thanks.
Grand. And I mean, yeah, I've seen in the comments too. First time having a Little Bay. That's cool. It's one of the most underrated whiskeys in the portfolio, in my opinion, especially for the price. I think you're in like the low 60s right now, potentially retail price. I know like I know like the wholesale is getting it for like 49 right now, or like on premise. So really, really great pricing. But another unique thing about Little Bay, and also why it gets its name, right, is we start almost exclusively start Oban in ex-bourbon cask, but then what we do for Little Bay is we swap from the bourbon cask into quart casks. So they're about 90 liters, and it allows us to just supercharge that oak flavor. And then we also use a little bit of California Zinfandel cask for Little Bay. So that's kind of why it's drying out a little bit at the end, but then you also get a little bit of like candied grape towards the end there for me. But I love it. It's there's a lot going on with Little Bay compared like where 14 is a little bit more straightforward, right? So I think it's a little, you get a little bit more char. I think that's also coming from just like the three different barrels, right? So you're just getting like kind of like compounding char. Almost a little bit like mint in Little Bay for me. And then that like kind of like typical citrus you get in the maritime note. How do we feel?
Yeah, I finished my sample already. I'm a
Yeah, good,
I'm a
tremendous.
I'm a fan. And
I think
very
it's great.
very 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 easy drinker, but it has the peat that I love. It's not overpowering peat or anything like that, or smoke or whatever. But it's just, yeah, I could drink this one all night long.
It's like a salt bay of peat, it's just a little, yeah.
Yep, it's somebody who doesn't like peat can have this and not completely go beat you up over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of see like why we call it kind of like a converter, right? It's a great just like intro into the Scotch world, I feel like. 14 even more so.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill this sample because I got a bottle of it sitting on a shelf in a corner.
Boom. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't have a bottle yet, but that's gonna change real soon.
I
It's
have
a
this in
great the pricing
14.
on it's great. I also like Costco has incredible pricing on Oban right now. I believe they have Little Bay 14, and then some places have special release, but maybe not now because the Oban special release went really quickly this year. Any other questions before we move on to 14? Yeah, 55 at K&L. That's incredible. It's great pricing. All right, I'm gonna slide to 14. Much more straightforward. Ex-bourbon cask. I mean, same juice before maturation, but ex-bourbon cask. I think the cool thing about 14 year, right, is this bottle has been made the same. Wow, what that blurring is absolutely bananas. How is my face? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, well,
Take it closer to your face, I think.
well, and that's what I'm saying. Look at this. It's so weird, right?
Like
Yeah,
in
you
front
think
of
it
you.
would pick it up.
I think you have an effect on your screen rather than just a blur, because you're coming out kind of cartoony too.
No,
Oh, really? No, I
Maybe
don't know.
it's
no,
just
that's just how he looks.
Oh, that's just how he looks. Okay. You look
Maybe
like
it's just
you're
my
made out of,
face.
like watercolor.
Maybe that's just my face, Vadim. Thank you so much. Um, no, what I was gonna say about it was what I was gonna say about 14 was it's been made the same way since the beginning. So over 200 years, this liquid, what you taste in this bottle, is exactly how it was made 200 years ago. I just think that's cool. A little bit of like history in the glass. But right, so much more straightforward, so much more fruit. The smoke is almost all the way gone. Tiny, tiny bit of salt, right? But I don't know, anyone else picking up anything else? Pretty direct.
The nose is lighter than Little Bay. Is there a difference in the cask or some
It is
composition?
lighter. Just less casks. Less casks. So remember I was kind of saying with like we're using 3 different casks for Little Bay. You got to char all those to clean them anyway. So I'm kind of guessing just like the compounding barrel char is adding to that peat note. Because Oban again, it's just staying in those ex bourbon casks for 14 years. It's Yeah, I don't know. It's as straightforward as you get for like, it's outside of that 110, 120 hours rest in the stills, but double distill, warm tub, ex bourbon. Hi, how are you?
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
So I guess like 14 is your flagship. Would you say, well, first, I guess off is, does most of your whiskey go to blends or does it go to kind of fulfilling the 14? Or, and then I guess the follow-up question on that is the 14 kind of when you guys are making the whiskey, what the flavor profile that you guys are searching for?
14 is definitely the North Star of flavor profile, right? It's the flagship variant. It is the, 1989. It's one of the 6 classic malts. That's when it was named, right? So the majority of the volumes going to that. Believe it or not, Oban and Lagavulin are one of the 2 distilleries in the Diageo portfolio that don't donate any whiskey to blending or to Johnny Walker blending whatsoever. They are standalone. So the only whiskey that's being contributed to blending are single malt blends in the sense of like, right, Little Bay doesn't have an age statement. So there's a couple of different years of Little Bay, or there's a couple of different years of Oban going into Little Bay. And then same thing with Distiller's Edition. What if I just put it in front of my face? Hey, there it is. Distiller's Edition doesn't have an age statement because you get a couple of ages here. Mostly 14 and up, right? But it kind of changes every year based off of the barrels we have available and what we want to use for it. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions around that?
I don't think Oban sells any barrels to independent bottlers, do they? Because I don't think I've ever seen
I
it.
don't think so either. We just don't have enough. I mean, we're even 18 right now. I don't think we're gonna get new or like additional 18 to the market for probably until like, probably not allowed to say, but like early 27.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just small. Small. I mean, Lagavulin does like 3 million liters a year, around something like that. Talisker around the same. So I mean, and Lagavulin's not huge either. So to 800,000 compared to 25 million that Johnny Walker pumps out for like a blend. I mean, blends, I get it, but still a volume.
So the 14 is all ex bourbon and a little
Yeah.
bit is ex bourbon and a little bit of ex sherry, right?
Little Bay's ex bourbon, quart cask bourbon, California Zin,
Okay,
no sherry.
cool.
Shall we move to 18?
Any other questions on the 14?
Any other questions on the 14? Why is it under 2?
What are the characters?
I mean, I would be surprised if any, I mean, because we don't make anything out of Brewer anymore. So I wonder if there's even, I'm trying to think if there's even anything that's younger than 20 years left from Brewer.
I'm pretty sure it's been resurrected now.
Not yet. Port Ellen did.
Yeah, I thought I heard too, but maybe I'm wrong. That Corona started making stuff.
Maybe not for, I doubt for like any sort of releases like that, but I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not 100%, so I could be wrong.
Under 20 Brora, really?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
That
Should
is
we do
not
an under?
Oban related.
I was gonna say, should we do an under 20 Oban? 2
We
years
should.
under 20?
Let's do it.
All right. 18. Also pretty straightforward. Ex bourbon cask. It's the same juice. It's just been in 4 more years. I think the flavor changes quite drastically. I think cacao is kind of the main differentiator for here personally. Be curious what you guys think.
And that is still US exclusive.
I'm sorry?
Still US exclusive, the 18? Just in the US market?
Also a good question. I'm not 100% sure. Let me I'm gonna write that down. We just haven't had it like any new available for such a long time that
quick question. What is the story behind, I guess, the label and like the writing on the sides?
You know, it's the brand in general is just really into community, kind of like I think like the perfect vibe for Open is that like that backyard dinner you throw with your friends where you have a great like a friend who just cooks really really well, so they're doing some like fire cooked meats and just like a beautiful kind of like farm to table farmers market like home cooked meal, and bottles of Oban are just around that table, and it's a group of like 10 to 15 friends hanging out, right? So you know the writings on these bottles and just like the storytelling, it all lends itself to just the community of that town and the accessibility of it and the approachability of it despite the high level of craft, right? So I think it's like rooted in storytelling, but like familial communal storytelling, right? So like it looks kind of like handwritten stuff like that, you know what I mean, just like little touches that feel familial. How do we feel about this 18? I haven't had it in a minute.
The 14 is all vanilla and citrus zest and apple pear. The 18 is peaches, like really ripe peaches.
That's a really good note. That's a really good note. Yeah, good call. Yeah, I still get a lot of cacao, honey and stone fruit. That's yeah. 18 is nice. It's just like a little bit more refined. It's almost like, to me, it's almost like it's like like 14 and a little bit like but like not that they had a baby. I don't know. Maybe maybe 18 just had like two kids and 14 and Little Bear are the two kids, right? And they like you know what I'm saying?
I kind of feel like so the 14 to me is a little. There's something about it that I I I can have one, maybe two, but I can't have a couple of them. I feel it's too sweet, whereas the 18 doesn't have that. The 18 definitely feel much more refined, even though it's just 4 year difference.
Yeah. I mean, cast makeup, and just seeing a question here, cast makeup, it's the same. Um, you know, they might use a little bit of like refill bourbon. But it's pretty much the same, yeah, pretty much the same makeup here. It's just another 4 years of just sitting there. But yeah, I can see like I can see what you're saying. It's I feel like it's like less fruity, right? So maybe if you're like leaning towards a more bitter palate, it's something that you want to come back to a little bit more. Yeah, pepper finish is really nice on the 18. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. This is all I have left of my 18. And a baby.
Some people in the room were talking about the 21-year-old and flexing.
21's fantastic. Fantastic.
Look at that flex.
What's that?
Look at Alex.
Yeah,
Flex.
it's really, really good. It's cast strength, so there's that. But yeah, we poured a little bit out of that at Tails this year, and I to be off the top of my head, I can't exactly remember. I feel like there's a little bit of sherry going on there, but it is a lot of ex bourbon again. Oban does a lot of like just bourbon cask stuff. We're actually about to move into some things that don't do that, but yeah, the 21 it had like it was really pulling the oak spice was pulling through a little bit more, but then it was like backed up by like the sweetness. I feel like there was a little bit of sherry in there because there was like some caramel kind of like that, like caramel toffee note coming through. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I cask strength Oban's like I'm kind of blowing my wad here, but the 23 special release with the pot still rum, I think it's so good. It's like passion fruit vanilla. We'll get there. We'll get there. But Distillers Edition. Should we move on to Distillers? Any other questions about 18 or anything like that? Negative.
I just had one quick question. What is the
See-
difference between the 18 and the 21 year? I mean, obviously price, but what is the differences? Are they basically, is it just
They're-
3 years?
No. I gotta double check, but I feel like they use a little bit of sherry. So they go expert bourbon. I think they use a little bit of European oak as well.
I mean, it's
Yeah, I
vastly
can confirm.
exciting.
Yeah, and also I don't know when this is happening. I'm hyped about it, but we're gonna release a 15-year in a sherry cask. It was supposed to come out a couple months ago, so I don't know what the delay is. But yeah, keep your eyes out for an Oban 15 sherry cask finish. I believe they're gonna be first fill sherry too, so that should be pretty epic.
When the last time the 21 was that was 10 years ago, no?
2018.
Yeah, I
think,
don't know
right?
when they've made more of it. The bottles right now are at like usually around like 800-ish. So, right, that would indicate that we haven't made a whole lot of it in recent time.
Yeah, I think it was the 2018 special release, and I think you're right. It's like refill European oak.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Distillers, shall we do it? Cool. All right. So Distillers Editions, we do Distillers Editions with a handful of our distilleries. And they're cool because they're kind of like vintages, right? So it's what happens when you have bottles that are part of the 6 classic malts where the flavor profile has to stay the same. We were talking about 14, right? Needing to like stay the same, Lagavulin 16, Talisker 10, even Johnny Walker Black, right? Like we're manipulating the blend of that every year to make sure that it, tastes the same. So what we do is we have these barrels that, aren't quite what we're looking for the 14, but they're still really great whiskeys and we want to use them, especially at a distillery like Oban when we don't have that much. So we take them and every year the blend slightly changes of the years. But what we always do is we always finish Oban Distillers Edition in Montilla Fino sherry casks. So I love it. I like kind of half-heartedly joke that Oban Distillers Edition is kind of like the Sauv Blanc of Scotch. It's like bright and fruity and crispy, and the like that Montilla Fino like just dries it out and kind of brings that like Sauv Blanc kind of quality to a whiskey. But I don't know. I'm also a weirdo. But I also think that Oban Distillers, I mean, it's an expensive bottle. It's like 104. Well, I mean, relatively speaking, but it's not nothing. It's like 140. Why no apostrophe? That's actually a wonderful question. What a specific question. I think it's just because we don't want to give, we used to name the specific distillers. If you see like a 2020 Oban Distillers, the names of the master distillers will be on that bottle. So I wonder if it is just more about like, it still doesn't make any sense for the apostrophe grammatically, but just to kind of give tribute to the entire staff. But that's a wonderful question. I never noticed that before. What else was I going to say about Distillers Edition? Oh, this is what I was going to say. I was saying they're kind of like vintages. So like if like 2020s, like if you had like 2020, 2021, even with Lagavulin too, like they were just like a lot drier, a lot like oakier. The wood was kind of leaning forward where 22, 23, like this year, I guess, they're a lot fruitier in my opinion. They're just I don't know, they're easier drinking and I tend to lean towards fruit though. I personally like fruit, so it could just be my preference. But for 140 bucks a bottle ish, I don't know. I think this is really, really tasty.
Speaking of the distillery, what anything you recommend doing there? I'm gonna be there next week.
Oh, no way. Shoot. Honestly, I would say like if you can get out there on like a kayak or something to just like get that you know what I mean? Like get that like 12 o'clock photo for yourself where like Oban's at your 12. I'm gonna like full disclosure, I've never been to Oban. So yeah, I know it's a travesty. We were supposed to go and we were stuck in Isla at the airport. Like if you've ever been to Isla, right? Like the weather is always a pain in the ass and it's like you never know like when you're getting in and out. So yeah, there you go. Well, the Oyster Shack. Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. I was gonna say because Tallahassee got the Oyster Shack up above the distillery, like up the hill there. But yeah, no, I would like just book. I mean, I can help you out with malts.com and like booking you a tour there because they're more, they're a little bit more like it's not the same as it used to be where you could just waltz in and do the thing, but they're still pretty hospitable, right, with like their tours. So I think you can get like a pretty like, yeah, let's connect after this and we'll put you in touch and make it happen.
Excited.
Yeah. 135 a total wine for distillers. Yeah, see, all right, that's great. Yeah, sherry on the nose. Sorry, I'm catching up, folks. Fish and chips. Go get fish and chips at Oban. That sounds pretty great. I know Oban Distillers is a really, really nice. Ooh, raspberries. Wow. Interesting.
So Oban Distillers Edition is I think the only Distillers Edition that I know of that is not high proof.
No, they're pretty much all, they're pretty, you're thinking special release. Special release is always cast strength.
Okay.
Distillers usually live in the 43 world. Like
Gotcha.
Log Distillers is 43, Talisker Distillers is 43. Yeah.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, yeah. Raspberries is a very interesting note. Never thought about that. You're gonna think I'm an absolute psycho, but we do have to do these things for certain events. A hot toddy with Oban Distillers is fucking phenomenal. I know that sounds bananas here, but it's really, really good. I know. I'll sit on that sword. That's okay.
I'm hoping to get
Yeah.
out to Oban in April.
Me too. We
We'll
need
meet
another
in
trip.
Glasgow and off we go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fire it up. Yeah. No, hey, look, like I know we joke about it out here. So quote comment, good whiskey makes good cocktails. I mean, I'm joking because obviously it sounds bananas to cocktail with $135 scotch. We obviously do it for certain luxury events and stuff like that, but better ingredients. Yeah, better pizza, Papa John's. Yeah. But I mean, you guys know, like the folks who have been over there, 95% of those people aren't snobby about the way you drink scotch. They're just hyped you're drinking it. It's there's 4 barrels to 1 human out there. Like they're just hyped you're buying it. It's a miracle that such a small country produces such a globally, exported thing. So, I always joke like Charles McLean did a tasting with us at the Johnny Walker facility, and his favorite drink is Johnny Walker Black and Soda, like Johnny Walker Black Highball. It's like, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. 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 I will never forget Charles McLean giving us his tasting notes on Johnny Red Label, which like, how did this even happen? But he's like giving us these notes and he's like smelling it and he's like, perfume, nail polish remover. Like, yep, that's Red Label, all right. Any other questions about Distillers Edition? How we doing? We still feeling good?
Yes, we
We
are.
still like Oban?
This night.
Shall we move to the Night's Watch?
how long it stay in Fino, the maturation?
6 months. So what we do is we do Fino seasoned oak casks. So we take a bourbon barrel, we season it with Fino sherry for about 6 months, and then whiskey goes in for about 6 months.
Thank you for the
Nice
disclosure.
Yeah, of course. I'm not trying to rush us through by all means either. So if we're hanging on Distillers, we're hanging on Distillers.
What I find very interesting is there's none of these I felt the need to put a couple of drops of water in. I do that very often. These I think drink just fine as they come.
And now
It's part of why. Sorry. Go ahead.
I said, and then 43%. That's another.
Well, yeah, but as you know, as I always say, I'm not a proof whore, so I don't care if it gets to 40, as long as
But
it
even
tastes.
like you outside of log 8, right? All of the like core log SKUs, 16 distillers, like those all live in 43 world, right? The Mortlick core ranges live there, Talisker lives there, Kleinleash lives there, Dalwhinnie. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't. It's again, it's like it's part of why I didn't even know that they called Oban the gateway to the Isles until like the brand person was like, I love that you say that. But I always call it a gateway scotch because for that exact reason. It's just easy. It's easy. It's an easy way to start. Easy way to start on scotch. Yeah. I know. This Night's Watch is such a polarizing. I'm looking at the Jane's comment here. I'm so excited to try the Night's Watch. It's such a polarizing whiskey when I read about it online because I think like there's not a crazy amount to it. There's ex bourbon and European oak here. It's part of the reserve cask, so I mean it is part of the casks that we love the most. And I feel like the Game of Thrones line for us in general is like quite polarizing, right? Like it's like some of them are good, some of them are kind of ass, and it is what it is, I guess. But the Night's Watch, I feel like you get like great reviews of it, or people think it's like the worst. Hated the books, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's also interesting, right? So we picked Oban for the Night's Watch too because of it living like off of that cliffside, and it's kind of like the gateway between the island whiskeys and the Highland whiskeys. Interesting. I mean, I don't know. I think like I'm a Game of Thrones fan. Like I feel like just moving it like Dalwhinnie would have been kind of cool because it's like the coldest, right? It's like the highest point. The average temperature at Dalwhinnie is 41 degrees. Like it just kind of screamed the North, right? But I didn't like Game of Thrones, so I never tried a bottle. No, there's some good stuff in there. Like the Mortlick 15 is quite good. The Cardew one's quite good. The Kleinleash one's quite good. I also I do personally like the Oban Night's Watch one. The people complain about it having like a short finish. The Lager 9 was see people hate the Lagavulin 9, but I don't mind the Lag 9 either. I'm glad you like it.
It was the
It's the
best
only
of the
time
bunch
Lagavulin's ever had a banana note.
for me.
Well, you got to try the Offerman. You got to try the Offerman rum cask. I don't believe any of the Night's Watches are cask strength. I think 46 is the highest it gets. But the new Offerman in Caribbean rum casks, you'll catch a banana note in Lagavulin there too. They do 8 months in Caribbean rum casks there, and it's an 11-year. So it's phenomenal if you haven't gotten it yet. It came out in May. It's retails at like $100.
Yeah, I tried it. At
So
Lagavulin.
not this one, another one.
Different one. Lagavulin 11-year Nick
Also rum.
Offerman edition, Caribbean rum cask. It's the fourth newest Offerman edition.
Isn't that the one
Henry,
we're looking at?
Henry, you came to the event. You met us at the event. You were there as
That's
well.
exactly right. That's
Yep.
exactly right. You guys came to that one. Some of you, yeah.
It's probably
Yeah.
my least favorite of the Offermans, to be honest.
It is.
But that's because I'm just not a fan of rum cask.
That's right.
See, I'm a sweets fella. I like it, and I mean, I also just I have the luxury of getting to cocktail with those. So like, I love leaning into tiki with it and doing, and like swapping out like mezcal tiki stuff, or even just doing like basic daiquiris with it are really nice. We did a clarified painkiller with a little bit of Zacapa to just give it a little bit more body. One time, charred pineapple. Popping a little bit of like Offerman into like a Pina Verde is really nice, like a 1/4 ounce, just to, like smoke up a Pina Verde. But yeah, but I also acknowledge that is a wild luxury. Ooh, an Offerman and Amaro cask. So I'm gonna veer off the track here, but the process for picking the casks is actually super legit. Did you guys learn about it at the Offerman event by chance? I can't remember if we even talked about it, but basically Nick goes out to visit Stuart Morrison, our master blender at Lagavulin, and they spend like a day or two at the distillery and try some of like kind of like the new stuff they're working on. And then Nick goes home and kind of Nick's like tells Stuart what he wants to focus on and like what they like and just the stories they want to tell around it, yada yada yada. So then Nick goes home. Stuart sends him like 6 blind like blue bottles, right? So completely blind to even color. Sends Nick the bottles to taste. He tastes them, take notes, and then sends them back and picks his top 3. And so far, 4 years, I know, wrong tasting. So far, 4 years in a row, Nick's favorite has been Stuart's favorite. And so that's how the casks get picked. And
He just sends him 5
okay.
bad ones and 1 good one.
What's that?
He just sends him 5 bad samples and 1 good one.
Yeah, Stuart just sends him his favorite. Yeah, he sends him his ringer, and then he sends him like 5 like, just shit ones. Yeah, he sends him 5. He sends him 5 Lefroy. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. We love Lefroy. We love Lefroy. No, but this Oban Night's Watch, guys. What do we think? It's
I'm
so
loving
fruity.
the Night Watch.
Say it again.
I'm loving the Night's Watch. I like it a lot.
I think it's great. I don't mind that it's like light too. I don't mind that it's a quick finish because it just kind of makes me keep coming back to it.
I think it's polarizing because it's very good, but it doesn't remind me of Oban. So if you handed me this and I didn't know it was Oban, I wouldn't guess Oban.
That's fair. That's super fair. And I think what people get like really hung up on is how wide the pricing is on it, right? Like if you could get it for $55-$70, you're like, fuck yeah, this is incredible. For $300, you're a little bit like,
yeah.
Yeah.
The Night's Watch, wasn't it like on special for $29.99? It was.
When it didn't sell.
When it went on sale, it was $29
When it didn't sell, yeah.
Well, that was a
the
long time
Night's
ago.
Watch?
That was a long time ago. Essentially, what had happened was all these limited editions came out after the show ended, the show, like everybody was pissed the last season, so they were low.
Yeah, but it's back up to 150 now.
Yeah, and then tons of it showed up.
And the Game of Thrones Lagavulin was $19.99. I got a bunch of them.
Wait, no, we released Game of Thrones in 2020, I believe.
Yep,
right.
That's right.
Yeah, and that also going back to the wrong tasting. That's why all of Offerman's are 11 years because we were supposed to release Offerman in 2020, and we held it for a year because of Game of Thrones. and the whiskeys just got older and they stayed in the barrel. So we were like, well, we're going to release it as an 11-year.
I think at some point,
We do not still make this whiskey, Jane. Sorry. Oops, sorry. Does someone have a question?
that was me commenting, but then I took it back because I realized I'm reinforcing the Lagavulin conversation, which I'm trying to get back to Oban.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, yeah, this is part of like yeah, Game of Thrones limited. It's probably why the price has gone back up. To be honest, right? Just kind of like basic supply and demand.
It's still available at 80 bucks.
Yeah. Yeah, some places try to finish you, some, you know.
It definitely feels younger compared to all the rest, and not just the finish, that overall taste.
Yeah, also a non-age statement, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're living in the 8 to 10 space here.
You know roughly how many bottles of those made?
I feel like when we do limited releases in general with the company, they're living in like the 12 to 18,000 bottle range. So I would guess with like a partnership like Game of Thrones, that's the case.
At least, yeah.
I guess since I'm being recorded, I should also say we're not allowed to talk about Game of Thrones anymore because the partnership is ended, but these bottles still exist. So I don't know. I can talk about the bottle, right?
Yeah.
But even I always have to do edits for the YouTube after this. No, I'm kidding.
You've never done that.
I'm joking. But not really. But yes, I am.
Yeah, if anybody wants the whole collection, here you go.
Yeah, no.
They don't have to search for it.
Should we end with the big finish here? The
Before we do
23.
that, we have quite
Oh
a
yeah.
beautiful showing. Let's try to get the rest of the people on their cameras. Jennifer, Birkin, Pam, Adam. Let's get you back online. There we go. We'll take a nice group photo and cheers to Brett.
No, cheers to you guys. Thanks for coming here. This is great.
Cheers, everyone. Raise a glass, smile to the camera. Got it. Nice.
I'm looking back at these comments. Sorry, go ahead, Betty. My fault.
Jennifer's still hiding.
You're seeing a lot of, I'm just going back to the comments with like the Game of Thrones bottles too. They're starting to, people are starting to, I mean, they're not starting to, they've been doing this, but like hoarding just like the whole line, but then selling them as the whole line, right? And you're starting to see, what you're starting to see is like actually really good pricing on it. Like I've seen some pricing at certain places on the whole line for like, so yeah, it's like we get 9 bottles there, right? And for like 1,200-ish bucks, could be worse. Could be worse. Shall we wrap with what? Go ahead.
The link Vadim posted has the whole series. It's only $4,999.95.
I'll tell that person. I'll tell that person to fuck right off.
Right?
I'm almost positive Corked in Hermosa down the street sells the whole line for 1,500.
Yeah.
Um, 23 special release. God, this is the worst blurred thing ever. I'm trying to show you that, guys, the artwork here. Probably easier to just send it digitally because our teams just do a great job. The innovation teams for us do these. Our innovation team from Shanghai did the 23 special release bottles. But this part, last year's 2023 release, what we wanted to do with our distilleries is we wanted to do what we call a spirit exchange, where we are bringing special releases of the Magic, the Gathering. Yeah, they are kind of like that. Yeah, they're the Magic cards of whiskey bottles. No, yeah. Every year we go we go all out on the artwork for the special releases. And this particular year, the innovation team from Shanghai did it. Like I said, um, we wanted to do the spirit exchange thing where we were bringing scotches to different regions of the world. And so for Oban, we wanted to bring it so we do a pot still rum cask finish with this Oban, but specifically we're in like the South American space, right? So like Zacapa, Venezuela, like in some of those rum casks, in that space in particularly. So I mean we call it the AG Calypso, but it's an 11-year Oban. It's a cask strength. It is this a real thing? Yeah, I love this whiskey. It's like to me, it's like I'm always gonna talk in bartender terms, but this is like a porn star martini in a whiskey. It's like passion fruit and vanilla, and it's like kind of sour. Um, I mean, you get the dam off the nose here. I know we have some people here that aren't rum cask fans, but I don't know. I'm in on this one. Which special release opens?
It's not too rummy on the nose. I mean,
It's not. It's not. Um, the 21's good. The 22 was really good too. Question is, which special release of Oban in the past couple years has been your fave? Um, yeah, the 22 is cool because it was an Amontillado finish, so it was just like saltier, and I liked that. But I love the fruit in this one. I'm not just saying it because it's like the 23 one. But I don't know. This is unique. So the plan for 24 is to do another spirit exchange, and they should be coming out soon. I mean, shit, we're running out of time. But uh, I know, and we do less rum finish. So we do less rum finish on this than the Offerman too. Like this is only a 6-month finish, I believe, as well, where the Offerman does 8 months. But the plan for 24 is to do another spirit exchange, but it's somehow reverting back to the distilleries. I don't exactly know how, and they kind of keep it a little under wraps, but the idea is to kind of go with that exchange, but somehow bring it back to like the home of Scotland, if that makes sense. Just not sure how it's happening. But I think this is like by far the most unique Oban variant of the night. And I think even if you compare it, it might be why I like it a lot. Like if you compared it to the Amontillado finish, if you compare it to the 21, like those ones you're like, oh yeah, I can kind of understand. Like this lives in the Oban family. This is very unique for Oban, which is why I like it. I know cask strength Oban is just so fucking good. You take an easy drinking whiskey at 43% and you make it cask strength, and you're just like, hello.
Have you ever had any pre-Diageo Oban, and does it taste different, I guess, from Diageo Oban?
That's another great question. I don't think so. Other than, I mean, 14 is kind of the through line, right? Because it's just stayed the same. Yeah, I can't say I've had. I think the oldest Oban I've had is 21. So no, I don't think so. Because I think we bought Oban. Well, United Distillers bought Oban in like the 80s, and then Diageo 97. So yeah.
Was it Oban, the one that we had those early 90s?
Say it again.
We were at a friend's house with Alexander.
No, that was the Lagavulin White Horse. That was the pre-Diageo Lagavulin.
Oh yeah, it's in White Horse.
Yeah, the 16s are really good. They're a lot fruitier than the standard.
That's cool.
That's cool. I had 14 that we had.
Speaking of Diageo and earlier, I had a 80s bottling of Johnny Walker Green. Oh my fucking god, that stuff is delicious. Nothing like the current green.
Label is my favorite Johnny Walker.
Yeah,
I mean,
I have one.
Obviously, I love Green Label.
Green Label is the only one that's a blended malt versus everything else is a blended Scotch, right?
Right.
That's actually a great question. We got to call that question.
That is the right question.
But it's
Right,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah, that makes sense because green is it's also there's also Talisker in green label too, which is unique. But it's like, yeah, I think it's like Talisker, Cardew,
Cragganmore,
Is there any more like
yeah.
in that one
There's
as well?
there's less in it.
Kalila.
It's grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's there's less Kalila. Because there's more Talisker in 15 year.
Explains why I like Talisker.
I love Talisker. I'm a Cape Cod kid though, so it's like the oyster Talisker thing just screams, you know. They gave me the fattest, like a fat oyster from the bay. I shot it and they poured Talisker 10 in my oyster shell, and that was it. I was sold. Yeah, what are the three faves? How'd our poll do?
Has everybody voted in the poll? I'm gonna close it down in just a second. Got 3 more votes. You can vote too, Brett.
I did.
Okay, and it's the people off camera, probably. All right, I don't think it was a fair vote considering with the cast strength limited edition in there. But the results are
I know. I love that the Night's Watch is that people like the Night's Watch. So I do too. I think it's underrated.
Yeah, there's too many bourbon guys on here. You know, the proof horse. Oh, high proof. Cool. I like it.
You know what's amazing is that 14 got 0 votes. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I think I might be the only one. Well, the two of us, we like the Little Bay the best. I thought it's just more interesting, I feel.
I agree. I think there's a lot going on. It's if you like more complexity, Little Bay is the play.
But I would say the 18 to me is a close second.
Yeah, I love the 18. I also like the bitterness to kind of like create a foundation for the fruit. I like that dynamism. But my personal out of these, I just love this special release. I just think it's so unique. I can't think of another whiskey that tastes near it. You know, it's just like there's a sourness to it that I'm like, well, this is wild. Scotch wise, right? There are never too many bourbon clubs.
All right, so yeah, we have the winners of the poll. Any other questions? Anything we should be looking out for from Oban? You're excited for?
Keep an eye out for the 15-year sherry finish release. I'm hoping that soon. 24 release is coming soon. Hopefully 18 comes sooner than. Hopefully more 18 comes sooner than 2027. And yeah. Good
Awesome.
things. Thank you everybody so much.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. That was awesome, and we're looking forward to having you back to discuss the other brand you're very excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get down on some peat.
Can we expect Mr. Offerman to be joining us for that tasting?
Yeah, I'm just gonna roll him right in here. We're gonna share a screen. It'll be good.
All right, cool. We have that Beyonce tasting set up for in a couple of months, so sounds good.
Oh yeah, let me know. I'd love to be just a fly in the wall for that.
Right on, Vadim. Right on.
Yeah. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate you all. So,
any questions before we let Brett go? Any last minute questions?
So Brett, we have to make reservations now at the distillery for a tour?
For Oban, yeah. Malts.com. Here, I'll put it in the malts.com is the best place to do that.
Tony, the reservations fill up quick, so make sure you reserve in advance.
Yeah, like 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there 2 years ago and I walked in and they asked me if I had a reservation. I said no. They're like, great, our first reservation's in 10 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I put my
That's
email in
amazing.
there.
Cool.
For anybody, Alexander going soon, just shoot me an email and I will do my best to make the proper connects to get everything facilitated. But we should just give me the timing, and if we have a week, we should be decent. Should be
Sounds
decent.
good. Sounds good. Yeah, I sent you something on Instagram, but I'll send you an email as well.
Perfect. Yeah, all good. All right.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
This
I need
was
to
fun.
follow up.
I've looked forward to trying these. So this was very fun.
Cool. I appreciate you
Yeah,
all.
this
Thanks
was
for
really good. Yeah. Completely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it was nice to learn
completely.
about.
Out of the ordinary.
Oh yeah, how so?
Well, I think I can detect a very distinct flavor profile, and I enjoyed that because I've tasted a lot of malt, and I like this one. I like the 21
Yeah.
year the best, but you know, these others aren't too bad.
Yeah. I know the tropical component to Oban I think is super cool. Yeah, I also think Oban's a great whiskey for Irish whiskey drinkers. You know, it's a lot lighter. Like I feel like my I joke like my dad's like I bring my dad all these scotches to try to like figure out, how to like just to figure out his profile, like his flavor profile, because he's just so stoked on Jameson on the rocks, and that's fine. Like, I'm a Bostonian, like we're New Englanders, like we keep it simple. But I'm like, well, I kind of have these things that like you might want to, just try it, and he just like loves Irish whiskey, he loves Redbreast, right? Um, but I feel like Oban is like a good little kind of like cousin to that
Mm.
profile. He likes that. I mean, obviously, I personally like it a lot better. But yeah,
My first year of law school, my buddy who lived in the same building as me, who had the NFL ticket, was a big Oban 14 fan, and so I spent a full season just drinking Oban all Sunday. From like we're East Coast, so it was like 1 o'clock till 2 in the morning. It's
yeah.
similar to Irish, because I feel like my only problem with Irish, it goes down too easy. But Oban was very
Right.
drink all day long. I went to law school in DC, so when it was hot, it worked. When it was cold, it worked. It was very like, all right, let's do this, and you didn't really get sick of it. So it's a little bit of a nostalgic taste.
That's awesome. That makes me happy. Yeah, I know we talked a little bit about cocktailing too. I know it's a little polarizing with bottles like these, but like I love like a paper plane or like a Naked and Famous with Oban too. Like a little bit of like citrus, a little bit of that like bitter, component. It's a versatile Scotch. Not too many. I feel like you can't say too many Scotches are versatile Scotch, but I feel like at least 14 year, Little Bay maybe also is.
I made a old fashioned with a Weller foolproof. Posted. People were like, "Why would you do that? Is it really better?" And I was like, "Yeah, like you cook with good ingredients, it tastes better. You make a cocktail with better ingredients, it tastes better. It's the same concept. Like it was better. Am I gonna do it with all of my Weller foolproof? No, but fucking one drink. Like, what's the problem?
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
That's it.
Who said that earlier? Yeah.
I'm getting dinged 25 cents every time you say that. Stop it.
Yeah, you guys are all all your algorithms, you're all gonna get Papa John's ads on your Instagrams and emails later tonight.
Yeah, the thing I always like about Oban is Talisker always gets the recognition for the pepper, but the pepper on Oban I think is more important, because if you didn't have the pepper, it'd be easy drinking to the point of boring. Like it'd be so drinkable
Sure.
that it would be nothing, and instead that pepper on the end on almost all of them it makes it interesting. It makes it tingle afterwards, and so it keeps it lively instead of just being just easy drinking.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Yeah. It's a cool distillery. It's just I just find it fascinating too that only 7 humans work there, right? And it was started by 3 generations of family, 3 generations of family. Hello, I've been tasting whiskey. 3 generations of family currently work there now too, right? And they do bottlings for those guys, like with old Teddy, young Teddy, and then grandson Derek, right? Like it's just got that vibe. It's just cool. I just dig it. And again, it's like it's coming from a smaller town, suburban Boston area person who just kind of likes that vibe, but there's still like a luxury quality to the liquid and the amount of like attention to detail on it too. So it's just a cool blend of folks. I know it's tops. Going to Oban's tops on my list. That was a big miss from getting stuck in Isla for me. I know T3 had name and grandson T3. I know. Big Teddy, little Teddy, young Teddy, Derek.
This was great. I absolutely loved it.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Same
Tony.
here. Same here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brett.
Thanks, Tony.
Looking forward to seeing
Thank
you
you all.
next month for Lagavulin tasting, and congratulations on your upcoming nuptials, man. Good luck. Have fun.
Oh, yeah.
All the
Thank you
best.
guys. Yeah, I know. Thank you. You guys will be the first tasting I come back.
You'll need that drink.
Was that?
You'll
What
need
was
it.
it? Yeah.
Look forward to a tasting with married Brett. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm afraid I'm gonna be just horrendously the same, but who knows?
Just much happier.
I'll be pretty stoked.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, cheers to you.
Thank you,
Cheers
everybody,
to
so
your
much.
bride.
Thanks.
We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you. You can always email.
too.
I have my email comments, so if you need to reach out, or Instagram works too. But thank you, everybody, so much.